Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a narrative so sharp, so steeped in irony that it really forces you to completely reassess what words like honor, loyalty, and, family truly mean.
It really is. It's this intensely personal story.
Yeah, of Joss Hart. She's a retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, 43 years old, and she spent 23 years of her life flying through enemy fire, earning these incredible military accolades. A life defined by integrity, by sacrifice.
And then she's treated like a ghost. I mean, an inconvenience by the very people who share her name.
It's a profoundly human, almost heartbreaking look at this brutal intersection. You have this towering public recognition on one side.
And on the other, this absolute calculated private rejection. It's just chilling.
And the source material gives us this immediate, searing snapshot. It's like a moment of intense emotional compression.
Exactly. You've got a woman who is a general, a proven leader, a recipient of the Bronze Star, the Distinguished Flying Cross. I mean, this is a person who should command immediate intrinsic respect.
But instead, she's sitting all alone at a busy airport gate. She's just gotten this brutal dismissal by text from her immediate family.
And the text message itself, it's something.
Oh, it's so clinical in its cruelty, isn't it? Just 7 words, no punctuation, totally devoid of any warmth. No place, don't come back.
And what makes this whole scene so staggering is the context.
Right. She's there, waiting to board a flight that she paid for. She bought all the first-class tickets for her mother, her father, her younger brother Nate, even his kids.
She provided the luxury.
And they handed her abandonment. This isn't just about a seat on a plane, it's about a lifetime of her trying to buy a seat at her own family's table.
And that leads directly to our mission for this deep dive. We aren't here just to talk about some dramatic airplane story.
No.
We're using the really precise, specific details from the source. The old shrapnel wound, the forgotten birthdays, the eventual public reckoning. To understand the psychological cost of achieving excellence when that excellence is accomplished in, like, an emotional vacuum.
We want to know how integrity, upheld against all odds, can become the very thing that triggers 2 decades of profound, painful isolation.
We are looking at the moral calculus of a life lived by a code.
So here's the immediate, staggering gap we have to reconcile. How does a decorated brigadier general who led men and women in combat, whose service saved lives, end up being treated like background noise by her own parents?
That cognitive dissonance is just deafening before the plane even pushes back from the gate.
It is.
And what's fascinating here is the sheer level of public disrespect Joss has internalized. She's a woman who routinely made life or death decisions in microseconds,
Yeah, in the cockpit of a fighter jet.
Exactly. Yet her family finds it so easy to just erase her with a casual text message. And then they compound that cruelty by ignoring her presence in the first-class cabin that she funded.
The setup reveals this fundamentally broken emotional architecture.
It does. She provided the material comfort, they provided the emotional neglect. And this immediately raises a really important question for us to keep asking throughout this.
Which is,
how does a life dedicated to the highest codes of honor and service, a life of proven competence and moral fortitude, result in a feeling of being intrinsically unwanted and unlikable?
Especially from the people who should know the magnitude of her character better than anyone.
Right. It suggests that her value system didn't just differ from theirs, it actively threatened theirs.
So let's focus first on the sheer physical reality of that rejection, because the initial scene, what the source calls the immediate context of dismissal, it's so powerful because it's in such a mundane setting.
Right. It starts at Gate 14.
Gate 14. Joss is just watching the mourning crowd swirl around her, feeling utterly invisible. And that's when that terrible text arrives.
And she has this observation, which I think is a key insight into her deep-seated coping mechanism.
She says that this is the thing about public places, You can get your heart cracked into while still looking outwardly normal.
Like you're just waiting on a delayed flight.
Exactly.
She has spent her life compartmentalizing catastrophic experiences in combat. It's a necessary skill for survival.
And now she's applying that same emotional armor to a catastrophic personal rejection.
It's the same skill set. She manages to internalize this devastating, intimate blow while appearing completely indifferent to the outside world. It speaks to a profound lifetime of emotional training.
The moment where the emotional reality really manifests physically is the seating arrangement. It so quickly becomes this heavy, painful metaphor.
Inevitable.
She boards the plane, walks through first class, and she has to walk right past row 8 where her family is seated.
And the source paints such a vivid, cold picture of their collective indifference.
It does. The mother in an ivory blazer and sunglasses, like a symbol of protection and self-absorption. Father half asleep and indifferent as ever, and her brother Nate just scrolling on his phone, perfectly ignoring the situation, flanked by his 2 carefully combed children.
So she walks past them.
And gets zero acknowledgement. They treat her like she is part of the upholstery.
That total lack of engagement, it speaks volumes about their objective right there in that moment. They're not just ignoring her, they're actively performing her emotional erasure in a public, confined space.
That's a great way to put it. Performing her emotional erasure.
They're treating her physical presence as insignificant, like a phantom that should have never materialized. They're enforcing that no place, don't come back, text, in person.
And then the unbelievable request comes. A flight attendant approaches, and the source says she delivers a politeness that was really a dismissal wrapped in customer service training.
Well, we've all seen that.
We have. She asks Joss to move from her paid first-class seat, 12A, because, and this is a direct quote, a family needed to be reseated together.
The irony is just staggering.
It's the ultimate slap in the face. She is the unwanted family member being asked to displace herself for the convenience of the very family she just paid to fly first class.
It's the perfect, awful encapsulation of her entire life experience within that family structure.
And Joss acknowledges, she had every right to refuse. She bought the seat, it was hers.
Of course.
But she articulates this core, crippling truth of her existence. She writes, "Don't mean much when you spent your whole life being told in 100 subtle ways that you don't belong."
So she gives up the right. Because for her, the psychological cost of asserting that right against their collective dismissal is just too high.
She chooses emotional retreat over confrontation. It's what she's been trained to do her whole life.
Exactly.
So she walks toward the back of the plane, and the narrative describes her dragging her carry-on like a soldier retreating from a war she never volunteered for.
Wow.
And she lands in row 30, middle seat, no window, no view.
The definition of minimized space and emotional confinement.
And the emotional toll of this specific moment is that it felt completely unsurprising. It was like it had happened 1,000 times before.
The forgotten birthday.
The forgotten birthday, the sudden exclusion from vacation plans, the family photo where she was always just out of frame.
So the immediate result is just that old ache returning steady and sharp, the ache of being unwanted.
And this is where the narrative genius of the source material really shines, because it connects the physical truth to the psychological truth.
It does. Joss immediately tries to adjust in that cramped seat, trying to ease what she calls the dull pull in my left knee.
This isn't just random discomfort.
No, it's the physical reminder of her devotion to duty. It's an old shrapnel injury from Helmand Province, 2011.
And it still aches when the cabin pressure changes, serving as this brutal, visceral reminder that her service, her sacrifices, are physically embedded in her body.
It's a perfect tragic analogy for her entire life, isn't it? That physical injury reminds her that not all wounds leave visible scars.
The wound of exclusion, of betrayal, it's just as real, just as painful as the wound from shrapnel. Her body is quite literally keeping the score of the life she led.
Precisely. And the environment of row 30 itself reinforces her psychological isolation. She describes the air as feeling thin, colder, like it had farther to travel and less room to breathe.
A literal manifestation of the psychological cold shoulder she's been getting her entire life.
But the most poignant detail for me is her internal conflict. Despite all the evidence, she tells herself she's fine, she's used to the pain, but she admits she lied.
She was still hoping they would let me in.
Can you imagine? That chronic pattern of rejection forces her to constantly manage pain while never completely giving up the hope of reconciliation.
That is the long-term corrosive damage of growing up in a dynamic like that.
You're a general who just walked away from her right to a seat. Because deep down, you are still that little girl hoping for just a word of validation from her parents.
That's a powerful distinction. She has the outer shell of this highly decorated military officer.
But the inner child is still vulnerable to that specific narrow source of pain.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes the upcoming reversal so powerful. To understand the depth of the victory in Seat 1A, We have to first fully understand the depth of the pain in row 30.
So let's delve into the history of that pain. Because this incident in row 30, it's really just the public culmination of decades of systematic, almost surgical erasure.
That's a good way to put it, surgical.
And the source gives us a clear timeline showing this heartbreaking pattern, minimizing Joss's genuine, hard-won achievements while at the same time inflating the often minimal achievements of her younger brother, Nate.
The contrast is truly stark, and it starts when she was just 7.
Just 7 years old. Nate wins second place for a baking soda volcano.
A charming but, minimal achievement.
Right. But mother bakes a cake, and father shakes his hand like he'd split the atom. Meanwhile, Joss is standing alone, clutching a spelling bee ribbon no one asks about.
And this isn't just about ignoring her. This is what we might call parental emotional labor deflection.
Okay, unpack that concept for us. Emotional labor deflection.
Well, it's when the parents, often unconsciously, choose to invest their emotional resources, their time, their praise, their attention, the cake, only in the path of least resistance, or in the child who validates their pre-existing worldview.
So Nate's low-effort, high-praise achievements serve their narrative of a successful, normal family better than Joss's academically serious success.
Exactly. Her success likely foreshadowed her independence and eventual departure from their control.
And the consequence is chilling. Joss sits outside listening to them laugh, realizing they never knew I wasn't in the room. They never asked.
It's an early lesson that taught her the weight of absence, that she could literally disappear, and it wouldn't impact their familial joy at all.
It's not just neglect. It's an active decision to divert praise. And the pattern continues, showing how they didn't just ignore her interests. They actively discouraged them.
Like at age 13, she tries out for the school band, practicing the clarinet for weeks.
And her mother's response isn't support. It's a constraint, a barrier. She claims the practicing causes her migraines.
It's psychological interference disguised as fragility. And Joss doesn't fight. She drops out quietly. No one mentioned it again.
Her mother effectively trained her to associate her personal development, her noise, her talent, her self-expression, with causing family pain.
It's a gentle, consistent push toward total silence and invisibility. The message is clear. Your existence is only tolerable when it requires nothing from us.
And when she tries to articulate a serious professional ambition, the dismissal is just. It's dismissive and overtly sexist.
At 16, she tells her father she wants to go into aerospace engineering.
A massive goal. Requiring intellectual rigor and dedication traits she later proves she possessed in spades.
And in his only concern, it's not about safety, not about practicality.
It's about shallow conformity. Don't you want something more feminine, something that won't waste your looks?
He wasn't seeing a future engineer, a pilot, a general. He was seeing a possession that was failing to live up to his narrow, superficial societal expectations.
He's trying to shrink her ambition back into a manageable, ornamental box.
It's the ultimate failure of a parent to see their child's inner potential.
So by 18, she must have internalized this pattern entirely because she stopped asking them for anything.
Which brings us to the ultimate moment of abandonment. The Air Force Academy appointment letter.
Oh, this part is just heartbreaking. She leaves it open on the kitchen counter, hoping, probably for the very last time, for some validation, for someone to finally see her and be proud.
And the response is perhaps the most defining, calculated act of her early rejection. Her mother folds the letter, this evidence of her daughter's towering success and independence, and slips it under the morning paper like it was junk mail.
And her father never mentions it.
It's an act of deliberate, quiet sabotage. It's designed to minimize her success and ensure her departure didn't feel like a loss to them.
If they pretend it's worthless, they don't have to admit they failed to support her.
Exactly. The exit, 3 weeks later, just solidifies the silence. No hugs, no tears. Quiet ride to the bus station, paid for with her own savings and a government voucher.
She was alone, already emotionally exiled before she ever put on the uniform.
And the silence didn't stop there. They didn't attend her commissioning ceremony. They didn't write regularly. Decades later, with her medals packed in storage, she still remembers that particular type of silence.
The kind that hums louder than applause and makes you feel unworthy.
It's the kind of silence that doesn't just hurt all at once. It actively erodes your sense of self-worth over time. It makes you doubt the very foundation of your success.
And that's why the flight attendant asking her to move back to row 30 was just the latest messenger, delivering the message she had already memorized.
You don't belong here, Joss. You never did.
It's just a devastating foundation of pain, but But this isolation is suddenly and wonderfully interrupted.
Right, before the big moment with the pilot, there's a small, quiet interaction.
While she's stuck in row 30, Joss interacts with the young woman beside her. Nervous, wearing an oversized sweatshirt, clearly trying not to take up too much space.
A person, perhaps, who understood invisibility. And that small interaction provides an essential quiet shift. It's the first moment of genuine connection and purely external, non-familial recognition she gets on that flight.
It's a moment of truth emerging from the periphery.
And the connection is subtle, which makes it feel so authentic. The young woman notices the simple gold band engraved with the Air Force crest on Joss's right hand.
She tentatively asks if Joss was in the military, and the energy in the conversation just immediately shifts.
This is where the narrative pivots from internal pain to external validation. The girl reveals her father was Army, served 2 tours, and used to tell a bedtime story about a soldier, a female pilot, though he never named her, who saved him from a burning Humvee during a sandstorm.
He called her the Angel of Hellman.
And here's the profound reality check for Joss. She remembers that day.
She remembers the smoke, the screaming, the way her hands blistered on the hot metal. This wasn't just a story, it was her life.
Specifically Hellman 2011, the same action that earned her the shrapnel wound that's aching in her knee in row 30.
Unbelievable. She dragged 3 men out of that wreck, one of them the girl's father. Yet she doesn't use the moment for glory or for self-pity.
No, she offers this profound minimalist response. She only confirms she was real.
And that quiet exchange, shared with a stranger, is far more valuable than any forced apology from her family would have been.
It shows her that her sacrifices have weight and permanence in the real world, outside her family's suffocating narrative.
The insight Joss gains from this small encounter is powerful. Sometimes a stranger sees you more clearly than anyone who shares your blood.
That small interaction is like a thread tugged loose from the pattern of her life, preparing her psychologically for the much larger public recognition that is about to unfold.
She's learned through a stranger that her actions had weight and permanence outside the suffocating silence of her home.
And that timing is crucial, isn't it? She's finally internalized that her worth is external and real. And it's right after this internal shift that the universe, or perhaps the universe disguised as a former subordinate, steps in to confirm it publicly.
That quiet realization in row 30, it just sets the stage for the dramatic catalyst. Joss is lost in the engine drone, dwelling on the painful immediate past. Her mother adjusting her sunglasses like Joss was Blair.
But cruel.
Her father's dismissive voicemail, "Don't stir things up, Joss, just let it be." She's internally wrapped in silence, thinking the seatbelt sign that dings overhead sounds like resignation.
She's prepared to endure the next 4 hours.
She is. She's prepared to fade back into the background, but she is being observed by someone who understands the weight of that insignia.
The pilot, Captain Michael Stenson, he's scanning the cabin.
And he sees the insignia stitched onto her jacket cuff. It's not immediate, but curiosity gives way to recognition, then this fierce memory, and you see that subtle tightening of the jaw muscles.
He realizes who she is and steps back into the cockpit.
It's an identification based on honor, not familiarity. It's like spotting a ghost from your past who should be celebrated, not hidden in the back row.
And the backstory revealed here is the foundation of the public reckoning. Stenson recognizes her from 15 years prior, under a sun that scorched the bones.
Joss, who was then Major Hart, pulled him and 2 others from a burning vehicle in Kandahar.
So this wasn't just a rescue. It was the moment that defined the rest of his life and career. He knows who she is because she is the reason he has a career to risk right now.
And the detail about Stenson's former self makes the connection so visceral. He was a young airman, fresh out of training, who was so terrified that he had screamed so loud, I thought the sky would split.
And he was completely compromised, passed out in her arms. She never saw him again until this moment, 15 years later, spotting her, Brigadier General Joss Hart, in row 30, trying desperately to disappear.
The significance of the timing here cannot be overstated. The world is literally about to stop for Joss Hart.
The plane is inched forward, it's lined up for takeoff, the seatbelt sign dings, signaling readiness for departure.
Everything procedural says they should be moving.
But Stenson chooses to override procedure with a moral imperative. And that speaks volumes about his character and his understanding of service.
And the moment is suddenly punctuated by the announcement over the intercom, cutting through the murmurs of all these puzzled passengers.
And the voice is calm, unshaken. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We'll be holding our position momentarily for important cabin acknowledgement.
Let's really analyze the captain's action here. This is absolutely not procedural.
Not at all. It is a profoundly personal, deeply ethical act. Stenson is risking the flight schedule, inviting scrutiny from air traffic control and the airline, and creating this immense public attention.
All to publicly correct a private wrong.
Yes, he understands that a heroic life was being dismissed in the back of his plane, and he had the power in that moment to restore dignity. He is defining what it means to be a true leader.
You honor the people who put their lives on the line for you.
You do.
It's an act of moral courage matching her own. The cockpit door opens and Stenson steps out, tall and composed in his uniform. His eyes sweep the rows, past the entitlement and indifference in row 8, until they find Joss in the cramped row 30.
And this is the moment where the quiet erosion of her self-worth is about to be violently challenged by roaring public confirmation.
The visual of that walk, Stenson walking past first class, past the family to the back of the bus, is just stunning.
He is walking away from comfort and convenience toward the person who represents true, hard-earned value.
The silence in the cabin is just shattered by Stenson's powerful, clear address. He calls out loudly enough for the entire cabin to hear, "Ma'am, are you Brigadier General Joss Hart?"
And the world stops.
Yeah.
Someone gasps. The cabin buzzes with the dawning realization of who is sitting in the back, trying to be invisible.
While the people who claimed her seat sit quietly in row 8.
This moment is about official introduction and public recognition. Stenson doesn't just confirm her identity. He recites the full scope of her service, leaving no room for doubt or for minimizing her achievements.
He lists them all. Retired United Air Force, 23 years of service, multiple combat tours, Bronze Star, Distinguished Flying Cross.
He is essentially reading her resume of honor to a stunned audience, including the very people who spent decades trying to shove that resume under the morning newspaper.
And then he highlights the specific injustice with this unflinching truth. He announces to the whole plane she was asked to move from her assigned seat today.
That simple statement condemns her family's selfishness without even naming them directly.
But he immediately pivots to the punchline. The reason this woman deserves every honor and every first-class seat. But this woman once pulled 3 men, including me, from a burning vehicle under enemy fire. I'm alive today because of her.
That statement is a public, undeniable reckoning. It transforms Joss from a nuisance in row 30 back to a hero of the highest order. It validates her life choices and sacrifices in the most public forum imaginable.
The silence in the cabin now buzzes with awe, with gratitude, and this palpable sense of moral correction.
Stenson is not just upgrading her seed. He is publicly upgrading her perceived worth in the eyes of everyone, especially the people in row 8.
And the invitation delivered with the dignity she deserves. General Hart, I'd like to personally invite you back to seat 1A where you belong.
That word belong here, it carries the weight of 20 years of being told the opposite.
It does.
The walk of dignity is the emotional core of the narrative. Joss rises slowly, intentionally, not for show, but because my knees still carried the price of my years in uniform.
The shrapnel injury, the physical manifestation of her sacrifice, guides her pace.
And Stenson offers his hand, not because she needs physical assistance, but out of respect, a gesture her father couldn't manage for 40 years.
The walk past row 8 is the true climax. She walks right past her family, and the source details their frozen, undeniable responses, which we have to analyze deeply, because their silence here is louder than any explosion.
Okay, look at the mother first. She is perfectly still, lips slightly parted, frozen mid-breath.
The carefully constructed facade of indifference is shattered.
She is stunned into silence by public truth she can neither deny nor minimize. Her image of her daughter as the inconvenient failure is instantly replaced by the reality of her daughter as an undeniable hero.
The father is equally paralyzed. He has his hands clenched too tightly in his lap, eyes flicking toward the window as if that might protect him from the weight of what was unfolding.
He is actively trying to retreat from the reality of his daughter's undeniable excellence. He is literally seeking a barrier between himself and the truth.
And her younger brother, Nate, the one whose small achievements were always magnified, he looks up once, pale, unreadable, his mouth moving as if to speak, but silent.
They're all caught in the blinding spotlight of her achievement. They're suddenly forced to confront the magnitude of the person they have spent decades dismissing.
Their silence is a testament to the power of public truth overriding private denial.
They have lost the ability to control the narrative of their daughter's life.
But Joss doesn't pause to savor the moment or seek their reaction. Her focus remains forward.
She walks past them the way she had walked past pain, disappointment, the desperate hope that one day they'd see me.
She doesn't need their reaction now. The validation is external, complete, and irreversible. She chooses dignity over drama.
And as they near the front, Stenson offers the final, resonant statement that summarizes the entire event, defining integrity for the entire cabin.
In all my years of flying, I've learned one thing. You don't leave your people behind. Not in war, not in life.
This moment was purely about restoring her dignity and reminding everyone, especially row 8, what real loyalty looks like.
And just when we think the moment is complete, Joss receives secondary validation after sitting in the coveted seat 1A.
Another passenger approaches, a man in his mid-50s, visibly emotional, adding layers to her quiet heroism.
He introduces himself as the father of Corporal Nathan Reese, soldier Joss saved in Afghanistan 2009.
And this is entirely separate from Stenson's rescue, reinforcing the breadth and depth of her selflessness and confidence. The fact that the story gives us 2 separate, distinct moments of external recognition within minutes is just so powerful.
He reports that Reese made it home, is married, has 2 kids, and teaches chemistry in Idaho. He attributes his son's survival directly to her, confirming, "You're the reason."
He's living a full, ordinary life because of her extraordinary actions.
The father's words are simple but profound. "I never got to thank you."
And Joss's response is equally minimalist and powerful. "You just did."
This second moment, it provides further, undeniable external confirmation of her self-worth, completely separated from the complex emotional toxicity of her family.
Her value is confirmed by 2 different men, saved in 2 different war zones, representing a life of consistent honor.
Now we move to Section 5, the crucial section for understanding the narrative's full weight, starting with the immediate fallout and the failed reconciliation attempt.
Nate approaches first. Tentative, hands in his pockets, eyes on the floor.
The reluctant messenger sent by the paralyzed parents, he offers this weak defense. "I didn't know they'd ask you to move. I didn't agree with it."
And he's trying to minimize his complicity. But Joss's internal response cuts right through the superficiality of his excuse, which is the key takeaway for the listener.
Some wounds don't heal with, "I didn't know."
She holds him accountable simply by not accepting the easy out, by recognizing his attempt to clear his conscience without admitting the deeper fault.
And behind Nate stands the mother. She doesn't speak, she doesn't smile, but her posture has shifted.
Her arms, which were earlier crossed defensively, now hang quietly. And crucially, she looks at Joss, not through me, and there is recognition, not pity, in her eyes.
An admission of reality.
That recognition is vital. The public reckoning forces her to see her daughter not as a disposable problem, not as the scapegoat, but as a woman who endured.
A woman whose worth was just certified by a flight full of strangers.
And Joss understands that some distances can't be closed with a single look. But that look, the recognition of her reality, is the most authentic thing she will ever get from them, and it was entirely forced by external judgment.
She no longer needs them to love her. She just needs them to see the truth.
And this forced acknowledgement sets the stage for the ultimate, staggering revelation. We spent this entire deep dive wondering why they were so cold, why they cut her off after a lifetime of trying to minimize her.
And the narrative finally provides the shocking, defining reason for the decades of abandonment. This is the missing piece of the puzzle.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the ultimate reason for the familial exile is revealed to be rooted in a choice Joss made 20 years earlier between integrity and blind loyalty.
This is the definition of the price of honor.
It is the defining moment. Joss reported her father for financial fraud.
Not a misunderstanding, not a slight, but a legal, ethical crime.
And her motivation is critical. She states explicitly that she did it not out of vengeance, but out of honor.
This wasn't personal, it was adherence to a code.
Right. And she clarifies that she could have destroyed him publicly, but didn't, which suggests a private necessary action taken to maintain her own code of ethics, likely due to her looming military obligations and the non-negotiable expectation of moral integrity required to serve.
We have to unpack the gravity of this choice. This is where the military code integrity, service before self collided head-on with the family's code, which was blind loyalty and secrecy.
Exactly. When you enter the military, you take an oath. That oath demands adherence to law and truth, regardless of the personal cost. When Joss saw her father committing fraud, she was faced with an impossible choice.
Protect the person who gave you life, or uphold the value system that gives your life meaning.
And by reporting the fraud, she chose the value system she would later dedicate her life to defending. She chose the flag over the family crest.
And the family's reaction defines their core corrupt character. They cast her out, not because she failed them, but because she refused to help them lie.
The conflict wasn't about her career, her looks, or her achievements. It was a fundamental, irreconcilable clash between military honor and blind familial loyalty and secrecy.
She chose truth and paid the price of 20 years by sedition.
This is a textbook example of systemic betrayal. They didn't isolate her because she was unlikable. They isolated her because she was morally superior to them and exposed their self-serving, ethical compromise.
By making the right choice, she revealed their own corruption.
They needed to exile her to preserve their own narrative of innocence. The isolation wasn't the punishment for her failure. It was the punishment for her integrity.
That understanding that she was exiled not for lack of love, but for impeccable moral strength is the key to her final piece. It reframes the entire 20 years.
All the little dismissals, the volcano versus the spelling bee, the rejection of aerospace engineering.
Those were all just precursors to the main conflict. They were preparing her for a life where her personal integrity was too much for them to handle.
And that is the beautiful resolution. She finally breathed true peace above the clouds, sitting in seat 1A, not because the family changed or apologized, because they fundamentally didn't, but because she no longer needed their forgiveness to feel whole.
Her integrity was proven not to them, but to herself, and the universe had just provided witnesses.
Her internal realization is the resolution of the entire story. All the years of trying to be enough, the medals, the loyalty, the effort, were validated not by their fickle approval, but by her own adherence to truth, and the external world confirming that truth through Stenson and Corporal Reese's father.
She achieved wholeness when she stopped outsourcing her self-worth to the people who consistently failed to recognize it.
And the final detail brings the narrative full circle to quiet, self-sufficient dignity. A week later, a letter arrives from the Department of Defense, a post-retirement recognition, another star.
She reads it alone on her front porch. It's an acknowledgement of continued excellence, but this time the reading is done with no tears, no applause, just peace.
She is finally validated, not by the noisy acceptance of blood, but by the quiet, absolute code of honor she chose decades ago.
And crucially, she's reading it alone on her porch. It shows she no longer associates recognition with the desperate craving for an audience or validation from others.
The honor is enough because she is enough.
So what does this all mean? The narrative of Brigadier General Joss Hart provides this stunning, detailed case study on the high cost of integrity versus the illusion of belonging. It shows that sometimes the hardest choice, honor over blood loyalty, is the only choice that allows you to live with yourself.
And it clearly shows that true validation often comes from external sources that judge you solely by your actions and your integrity, divorced from history or emotional bias.
Right.
The specific details we dove into, the Helmand shrapnel, the Kandahar rescue, the quiet reporting of financial fraud, they're all pieces of a life lived by a non-negotiable code. The public reckoning on the plane was simply the universe confirming the truths she already knew about herself.
And the beauty of this narrative is that it reminds us that our true family isn't always bound by blood, but by shared values and mutual respect. Stenson and the corporal's father were her true people.
She didn't leave them behind, and in the end, they didn't leave her behind. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a universal human story about the craving for acceptance. General Hart's experience suggests that the deepest sense of peace comes not from being accepted by those who demand compromise or expect you to participate in their secrecy,
but from being seen clearly by those who recognize your integrity, even if those people are initially strangers.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder. The story forces a critical self-reflection on the difference between earned respect and automatic, undeserved loyalty.
So the final thought for the listener, Mole. In your own life, what is the row 30 you are currently tolerating? That space of invisibility, of minimization, or compromise?
And what price are you paying for the hope of acceptance instead of simply claiming the seat 1A you have already earned through your actions and your inherent integrity?
The journey from row 30 to seat 1A is often the longest, most important walk of your life.